Hello and welcome to this week's episode of ThinkTank Thursday. I'm Denise Killian with Trainertainment and the Growth Pro Group, and we're thrilled that you're joining us this week. Before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors for 2025. We appreciate their support, which helps us offer you new episodes of ThinkTank Thursday each and every week. Well, as you know, on Thursdays, we like to take just a little bit of a break from all of that doing and spend just a little bit of time thinking. And this week we've got a great topic for you. I know the year is winding down. You're probably looking at doing reviews for your team, and this is going to be a great help for you. We're going to be talking about that age-old problem of, gosh, my employees aren't doing what they're supposed to do. I've told them what to do and they're just not doing it. What can I do? We're going to investigate the root causes of that with Semnox Kevin Kochman. So let's hear what he has to say. Kevin, welcome to Think Tank Thursday. Thrilled to have you here.
Thank you so much, Denise. Glad to be with you.
So Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself. You have been a regular guest this year on Think Tank Thursday, which is wonderful. But for those who maybe aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for Semnox.
Sure. I am a sales partner with Semnox. Semnox is a POS technology solution, and my job is to work with clients to make sure that they have the right software and hardware configuration for their amusement park or FEC or arcade. That's what I do. And prior to Semnox, I spent about 15 years with a major family entertainment center company. Before that, I worked internationally for Applebee's, opening up international franchisees all over the world. So that's a little bit about my background.
So you've got so much experience in the creating something new, transporting that to different locations, right? Which is so helpful, and especially what we're going to be talking about today. And what we're going to be talking about today is inspired from a really fantastic book by Ferdinand Fornes. And it talks about this conundrum that we all seem to have of, gosh, why aren't my employees doing what they are supposed to be doing, right? It seems to be a frustration that so many people have. And in this book, he talks about 14 reasons that they're up on the screen right now for everybody to look at. 14 reasons why, no matter what your business is, no matter how big, how small, these are 14 reasons that are probably going to apply to where you're at as to why there's this disconnect between, the boss says, well, I told him to do this and they're not doing it, and I don't understand what the deal is, right? So it's definitely something that a lot of people face, right, Kev?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited about this topic. I think that getting better performance from your staff, from your employees, it's a challenge. And especially in today's culture, it seems to be more and more difficult to know how do I reach people? How can I motivate people? How can I correct poor performance, and how do I reward great performance? So yeah, looking forward to it.
So when we were talking about this, we wanted to go into this, and I wish that we had time to get into all 14 points. We picked four that we're going to go through today. And the first one is they think that their way is better, right? I mean, you've got a process and you've got a procedure, and it's there for a reason because of either trial and experience, or there are very specific things that maybe the employee doesn't know about. That's the reason that we want you to do it this way. So you've got a process and they're just not following it and they're just not doing it. And often the reason is they think that their way is better.
And the assumption is that the employee is doing it from a less than honorable motivation. Like they're purposely trying to upset me, or they're purposely doing it their own way. because they know I won't like it. But really, the reason that they're doing it a different way is because they really believe that their way is better. It's coming from a good place. It's coming from a creative place. It's coming from being innovative, and you don't want to squash that, right? And so, to your earlier point, they don't understand maybe the why behind what your way is. So, a lot of that has to do with communicating and explaining and selling the why. It's not enough these days just to say, well, do it this way because I said so, or because the manual says you're supposed to do it that way. If you can explain the why behind it, that goes a long way. But I also think this can apply at uh, uh, from a CEO level, where I've worked with CEOs that were determined that they knew that their way is better, and sometimes it wasn't. So, so I think that communication with them explaining to you why they think their way is better, and you explaining, I hear you, but here's why it needs to be done this way. And so a lot of that negotiation really should happen before the activity or the project starts, right? So as you're rolling out a project and you're explaining why a certain project or task has to be done this way, one good best practice is to ask, does anyone else have any other suggestions on how this could be done? And so now you're creating that buy-in, right? You're allowing dialogue. It's not this very vertical, do it this way because I said so. It's I'm open to other ideas, but if there aren't any other better ideas, let's do it this way. Let's agree that this is the process that we're going to follow. And then if they're still not doing it, then that's where you do your one-on-ones and you start doing your coaching and all of that. But I think having that negotiation part up front and explaining the why and selling it, I think that will correct a lot of that thought process.
And, definitely there are different personality types. We all know that. If you are someone who is very much a slave to process, right? If that's your personality type, and nope, this is the process, this is how we have to do it. It has to be A, B, C in that order. This is a challenge for you as a leader, right? Because inadvertently, as you touched upon, you are squashing creativity. You're also squashing buy-in. If people don't feel like they have a role in something, then they're just doing a meaningless task. But when they have some ownership in the process, and that can be different than your process. And if it's not a holy grail, I call them holy grails. There are some things we have to do for legal reasons. There's some things we have to do in a certain way for safety reasons, right? But if it's not a holy grail, what advice do you have for those super type A's? Nope, this is the process. It has to be this way, to let go of that a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe another approach you could take is, I really hear your concerns. I appreciate your creativity. Let's do this. Can we do this project or this task this way for now? And then when we're done, let's come back and talk about process. Let's talk about how you wanted to do it. And then maybe for next time we try a different way. But for now, we need to do it this way, and that's my expectation. And I'll follow up with you halfway through completing your task, and we'll talk about how it's going. But for now, this is really what we need to do. And so it's not so much dictatorial as it is, again, selling the why behind it, but then being firm in your expectation that, no, my expectation is that it will be done this way. But you word it in such a way that it's not so uh, uh,
Eek.
coming from on high, so to speak. Yeah.
Right, right. And it's the, and I know, and from my career journey, when I started out, I knew this much. right? I knew only what I was doing and immediately what that was. And then you learn more and you grow and you get a bigger position, and that view opens up a little bit, and you have these, oh, that's why they wanted it that way because of this thing.
Yeah.
And then, right? And so it's impossible to share all of this information with the person who's starting out. They're not going to understand it or be able to contextualize it. But offering a little bit more than just their purview helps them understand that, especially when it comes to those holy grails. And that's that why. Again, the
Yeah.
why we do it this way has to be really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that kind of leads us into the second one, right? It kind of leads into, well, I thought I was doing it.
Right. The second one is they think that they are doing it. What are you talking about? I am doing it.
Yeah, and that's a big one because this really has a lot to. Well, let me backtrack and say this. I think 95% of the people that come into work have the intention and the motivation to want to do a great job. There are very few people that come into work and approach a project or task and say, "Well, I think I'm going to do this average today. I'm only going to do this halfway today." No, most people want to be successful, right? And so when you assign a project, a task, or a responsibility, they, unless they're hearing differently from you, they are going to assume that they are doing exactly what you have requested, right? So this comes down to feedback. And one of the worst types of feedback is not negative feedback. One of the worst types of feedback is no feedback. And there are a lot of different ways to give feedback. And I'm going to give you one best practice that I have followed my entire life, and that is how do you give feedback that is beyond the annual or 6 month review? One of the and especially in our industry, that's a very fast paced industry, Denise. I think using a blank 3x5 card and saying, "Give me three things that you're doing well, and write one thing that you'd like to do better." That little bit of exchange, that one small way of giving feedback to a direct report can have huge benefit, because in our industry, being able to do one-on-ones and evaluations and reviews, it's very time consuming. But if you can just give them a blank card and say, "Before you leave today, I really want to talk to you about how you're doing, but I'd like to hear how you think you're doing." Now you've opened up the door, right? You've created an opportunity now to specifically talk about their performance. And if people aren't feeling successful, they will tell you, like, "I feel like I'm really succeeding here. I feel like I'm really doing well here, but I don't feel like I'm doing well here. Do you have any suggestions?" So I think that type of one-on-one feedback could really be beneficial.
So, one of the questions that I like to ask is, how do you know when you've completed this? What is the result? What's the outcome of this task, whatever it may be? Because if someone thinks that they're doing it, but they don't understand if their idea of an outcome is different than your idea of an outcome, that's where the disconnect is, right?
Yeah.
So that simple question, um, when you're able to have that conversation of, gosh, I just was wanting to know, when you're walking through this, what is that outcome? What does it look like for you that, yes, I've successfully done this? And what's
Yeah,
that
what are the
result?
outcomes and what are the milestones? What are
Mhm.
certain milestones that I need to hit along the way to ensure that I'm nearing completion, right? So whether it's a Gantt chart or maybe just something written down on a note card, but understanding what the end game is, but then what are the milestones on the way to that end game? Uh, Again, because most people want to succeed and they want to feel successful, until someone comes along and says, "You know what, I've been evaluating your progress and you're just not as far along as I had hoped. Can we talk about maybe some ways that we could help speed this along? Or is there anything on my end that I could do differently?" that would help you. But it's that lack of feedback that I think really is the challenge, and we're just not taking enough time to do that.
Yeah. And the adage, no news is good news, it should not be applied in the workforce and the employee-employer relationship ever. Uh,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's, I think, the number one cause of not only the disconnect, but also morale, low morale is when you've got people on different pages and they don't know that they're on a different page because
exactly.
we're not clear on what the end game is. We're not clear on what it looks like to get there. And I think this one you often find in situations kind of the reverse of what we've talked about with the first issue of that they think that their way is better, where when you've got, we won't need hard line control over A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's a 7-page document on how to answer the phone situation. And then the other kind of leader who is that I have all of these great ideas but I'm allergic to details. And the I want to do this, figure it out, leaves such a gray area. And a person can literally think that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but because they haven't gotten feedback or details or clear instructions over here's the objectives, then you're going to be on the wrong page.
Yeah, and that takes you into situational leadership where you don't manage everybody the same way, right? So if you have a brand new employee, they need high direction, high support, lots and lots and lots of feedback. A person that's been with you for a few years doesn't need a lot of emotional support. They just need to know what is the end game, to your point. What do you need? When do you need it? Is there anything in particular I need to know? If not, I'm going to go and get it done.
Absolutely. Okay, number 3 on our list that we are going to tackle today is obstacles beyond their control. They have a roadblock that there is no way to get around, or there is something else happening that is beyond that person's control to be able to do the thing that they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and it could be when we say obstacles, it could be just an impediment. It could be just be the timeline was unreasonable. It could be something deeper though. It could be they don't have the skill set and we haven't recognized that they don't have that skill set. It could be a time management thing. It could be there are things that I have been asked to do, even in this current job. Right now I'm working on an RFP and a request for proposal, and I've never done an RFP for a technology company. And so there are obstacles beyond my control that I'm trying to figure it out, right? But I have a great boss, and he is helping me out, and he's providing a lot of guidance and input. And without that, I think I would really be frustrated right now because I can't control the fact that I have never done this before, that I don't have a wealth of knowledge, I don't have cold hard facts about how to do this. So it's again, it's all about communication and negotiating and asking, all right, let's walk through what's holding you up. What obstacles am I providing any obstacles? Am I creating those obstacles for you? Are my expectations unrealistic? Is the timeline unrealistic? Do you not have the resources that you need? And you start kind of hammering through exactly what those obstacles are.
And knowing what they are, right? If you uh as the manager, as the supervisor, if you don't know that they're dealing with this stuff, you can't fix it. There are times that you're able to fix it, and there are times that you're just not, right? But when you don't have that knowledge, then that frustration of, well, why didn't they get this done? And then, you confront them in a way
Right.
of we didn't get that done. We're supposed to do that, guys. We really messed up. And then they say, well, we couldn't because of X, Y, and Z. Well, why didn't you tell me?
Right.
All of that is sort of resolved if you do those check-ins through the process.
Yes, the check-ins are so, so important. And whether, I don't think people want more meetings. I think what people want is just that ongoing feedback, that open channels of communication, empathy, understanding. Those all go a long way. So, yeah, I think your role as a supervisor, as a boss, as a CEO, your job is to help identify obstacles and be the one to help remove them. Yeah, absolutely.
And, there are things that I think a lot of times, and certainly I'm seeing this more and more, there can be a lack of critical thinking, a lack of let's figure out, okay, here's your roadblock. How do you get around it? And if you don't have those conversations of what are those options? How could we go around this? If this is our roadblock, we've hit this dead end. Is it a dead end or is it just take three steps to the side and go a different way? Um, what that looks like and brainstorming on how we do that and how we can go through that, I think is just so valuable.
Yeah, and that's part of their development, right? And you and I could look back on times in our life, whether it was personal or professional, where we did face obstacles. And after we went through it, we did come out stronger or wiser or better. Because and sometimes that is good to give a project to somebody knowing that there are obstacles and then watching how they move through those obstacles, as part of their leadership development. That could, so obstacles aren't necessarily a bad thing. It's about how does that person, like you said, solve those obstacles, and making sure as a mentor and as a leader, you are sensitive and attuned to what those obstacles are.
Our number four, Kat, that we decided to look at is your employees aren't doing what you want them to do because there's not a negative consequence for them not doing it.
This is a tough one. This is, especially in this climate, in this, when I was growing up, if I wasn't doing something right at home, if I wasn't doing my chores, or there was always a penalty that I that I paid. My parents were very, very tough, very strict, but very, very loving. But I knew right away if I wasn't doing a good job on something. In today's culture, where everybody's getting a trophy for participating, it seems to be a much more challenging time to be able to hold people accountable for poor performance. But it's so easy to let poor performance slide because you want to avoid the confrontation, right? Or it could be because I remember back in my restaurant days, we had a schedule closers in the kitchen where you had to close down the broil station, you had to close down the fry station. And I had this employee that just did a terrible job at closing fry station, but he was the only guy that could do it. I didn't have anyone else who could stay until 2 o'clock in the morning. So rather than challenge this person and say, here's some things I think we could do better, I just avoided the problem because I didn't want to upset him. I didn't want to lose him. So I was willing to compromise and put up with poor performance. And so for him, he probably thought he was doing a great job. Right? Going back to number two, they think they are doing it. But as a leader, our job is to recognize when there is performance. And unfortunately, as part of being in business, you have to have consequences for poor performance. And it doesn't mean termination. It doesn't mean they're getting written up. It just means that the performance needs to get recognized and it needs to be corrected. That could be something that's very simple, as a one-on-one, sitting down having lunch, or just having a quick 5x5, or giving them that 3x5 card. To me, that's the beauty of the 3x5 card. because now when they say, I think I could do better at closing down fry station, now you've got an opportunity to say, you know what, I kind of noticed that. So here I have a couple of thoughts on that. So could we talk about that? That's why that idea is so valuable. And it doesn't have to be a 3x5 card. It could be anything. But it's important to let them know, I want to I want to hear how you're doing. I want to talk with you. I want to spend some time with you. And so that's where poor forms can be addressed. If it's something, if it's a major issue, then maybe that is a discussion with HR, or maybe it is a documented thing. But I think for the most part, poor performance can generally be addressed early. If you address it early, great. The longer that it goes on, the more that performance gets ingrained as part of the pattern, right? And so now to try to break that pattern after all that, why didn't you say something 6 months ago? Why are you waiting till now? Well, I just didn't want to have the confrontation. I didn't want to upset. Those reasons no longer hold water, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, now my bigger question for you is when you give them that 3x5 card and the what do I do really well? I kill it when I close down the fry station. I'm the best. That's what I do best.
Well,
How do you have that conversation?
yeah, well, you can say, well, I can see why you think that way based on what you're telling me. I have been watching you close down Fry Station, and I wouldn't rate it as high, maybe as how you're rating it, but can we talk about some ways that we maybe could do better? Or even better, if you were training somebody how to close down Fry Station, how would you train it? Do we have any written standards for how we close down Fry Station? Is there some way that we could codify that? Are there charts that we could put up? And then they're going to start giving you feedback. Again, going back to the assumption that most people want to succeed. Most people want to feel like they're doing a good job. So when you come and say you're not performing up to the expectation, um, then you have to find the right vehicle to correct that performance. But the key is catch it early. Don't be afraid of confrontation, and listen to why they think they're not performing well. Because it could be something that we've created, right? It maybe it's not just that they don't have the skill for it. Maybe we're not providing the right fry oil. Maybe the fryer isn't working correctly. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons why they're not closing down, or maybe they're trying to save time because you're always saying, get off the clock, get off the clock, it costing me money. So they
Right.
think that they think they're doing the right thing by not performing well.
And or maybe they were trained improperly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mhm. So and the key thing here is the longer you let something slide, the more of a problem it becomes. But
Exactly.
I like to sort of change my mindset when I know I have to have this conversation, that it's not a confrontation. I don't go in expecting a confrontation. If you go in expecting a conversation and you're approaching it with curiosity, not in an accusatory way,
Exactly. I was just going to
that
say
makes
that.
all the difference,
Yeah,
right?
no, exactly. You're investigating rather than confronting, right? You're
Hmm.
you're 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 in discovery. Like, help me understand how we could do better,
Hmm.
and the focus on we. It's not you versus I. This is a we thing.
Yeah. So Kevin, this is a great book. You mentioned that it's an oldie but a goodie. I think
Like
this was
me.
written in the late 90s, but it still is so prescient and relates to the workforce and that disconnect that can happen. And the through line, not just through the four things that we've talked about, but all 14 of the things in the book really comes down to that communication and what is your communication style with your team. Were you clear about the expectations? Are you clear about this is where you can color outside of the lines? This is where you cannot? Do they understand why? Are you checking in with them? Are you communicating about we're doing this well or this needs help all the way through and not just, well, I told them they need to do these 5 things and they're not doing it and they're just terrible. That's not the approach.
Yeah. It's going on the premise that people want to succeed, not be average.
Mhm. That's right. That's right. All right, Kevin, we are at the end of our time, so I want to make sure that people know how they can get a hold of you.
My email address is kevin.coachman@semnox.com.
All right, fantastic. Well, Kevin, as always, thank you so much for being here with us. And this is just the perfect time for this conversation because we are nearing the end of the year. And I imagine that a lot of folks are doing their reviews right now or thinking about doing their reviews, which
I just had mine, as a matter of fact.
there
Yeah.
you go, right? So it's the perfect time to have this conversation. I hope it gives some insights to folks as they're looking into their team and what's working and what isn't, that these are some solutions that they can have to solve some of these disconnects. So thank you so much as always, Kevin.
Thank you, Denise.
Well, thank you, Kevin, so much. That was just all sorts of great information. But again, it all comes down to communication. If somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, you need to not look at them, you need to look at yourself and ask, how am I communicating? Do they understand the expectations? Have those been clear? Have we trained them properly? Have those conversations about what's going on, not in an accusatory way, but in a way of curiosity, because the assumption is that we all want to do a good job. So changing that mind shift a little bit, I think, is really, really important. And first looking at yourself. So thanks, Kevin, for all of that insight. And thank you for being here today as well. We appreciate you, but we also appreciate our sponsors for 2025. Want to thank them again for all that they do to help us bring you Think Tank Thursday each and every week. If you have an idea for Think Tank Thursday, or if you'd like to be a guest, I would love to hear from you. And you can reach me at denise@trainertainment.net. Well, thanks once again for tuning in to this week's episode of Think Tank Thursday. And remember that the journey to success is all about growth. And here at Trainertainment, we're committed to helping you along that journey. You can visit trainertainment.net to learn how we can support your growth journey for yourself, for your team, and your business by setting up a free growth call with one of our coaches. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for the extraordinary.
Playthrough is an online scoring system for mini golf courses. Simply post a QR code near the first hole. Golfers scan it with any mobile phone, add their golfers, and start entering scores. They can easily view their group leaderboard or the course leaderboards. Playthrough also includes features like hole sponsor logos and hole transition ads to help grow your business. Visit playthroughmini.com to see what else Playthrough can do.